Welcome to NCTV Interviews. I'm your host, Lou Sitzer, and today's program is interviewing the BriarPatch Cooperative, where it's been, where it is, and where it's going. Today we have Alan Weisberg, cooperative board member, Paul Harton, the general manager of the cooperative, and Jeff Gold, the architect. And I'd like to ask you, Paul, to give us an update, to give us a little bit of background to the BriarPatch and catch us up to where we are today.
Great. Thanks for having us on your show. The BriarPatch was founded in 1976 by a group of people who wanted to control their food, what kind of food they could buy in a store, and have healthier food at a reasonable price. So that was at a little tiny store up on the airport in a warehouse, and since then we've moved several times to different locations, most recently up on Washington Street, and then into our current location about 12 years ago in Jaworski. For about the last 5 or 6 years, we've been looking for a new site. We're bursting at the seams. Anybody who comes near our store knows we don't have any parking spots, and we have lines at the registers at all the busy times, and we can't stock nearly enough products or have a full-service store. So we've investigated several sites over the last few years, and this project on Lytton Hill is the one that by far has the best advantages for us. We see that, it's a real community forming up there, and we could be a vital part of that.
So now you've been 12 years at the site in Jaworski.
Yes.
About how many members do you have now?
We have just over 2,000 members.
And are those people actively using the store, shopping?
Yes, that's, we have about 2,000 owner members who are the owners of the BriarPatch, and they make up about 45% of our shoppers. And yes, all of the members and all of the people who are non-members who shop less frequently are very interested in having a new store.
So this is kind of a novel concept, the idea that a community can actually own and participate in a business. So you don't have to be a member to shop there.
No, you do not.
And it's open to everyone. So what are the advantages of being a member?
The advantages of being a member in the BriarPatch are, one, having a say in your food and what kind of products your store carries, and having a more responsive store that is interested in what you are really interested in, not just what they can make the most money on. Co-ops are, they've been around for 150 years or so. Most of the co-ops that people are familiar with are the health food co-ops like the BriarPatch that were started in the 70s. But it's sort of the democratization of food. All of the profits go back to our members in one way or another. Members vote for a board of directors. Any profits we make are returned to them in one of various ways: a bigger store, a discount at the register, that kind of.
It seems almost like a non-profit in a way.
Yeah, the IRS considers us a for-profit because we're making a profit for, if you're an owner member, because we're giving you a discount and that kind of thing, we're providing you. So technically we're a for-profit. We operate very much in a non-profit mentality. We really only want to make about a 2% profit so that we can buy new equipment, build a new store, that kind of thing.
So what are the sorts of, without mentioning prices or profit margins or something like that, what are some of the things, the store features that would make it unusual or attractive or different?
Well, we pride ourselves on having very fresh produce. It's almost 100% organic. We sell a few things that aren't certified organic, that are local produce. We work with local producers, farmers, and other kinds of producers very closely to support their businesses and then sell their products. We have an extensive bulk section, and our staff does a lot of customer education. A lot of people coming in saying, my doctor told me I can't eat wheat, or I'm going to have a heart attack if I don't change my diet. What do I do? So we have a much more intensive staff presence, and they work with the customers more one-on-one.
So now the store is bursting at its seams. It's crowded at various peak times and hard to find parking. So the prospects of a new location, new store come about. And so Alan, can you give us an introduction to where you fit in?
Well, I'm one of 9 board members, and we are elected by the general membership. And I'm a longtime co-op member, 15 years or so, almost from the time that we first arrived here, and was never that active except as a shopper. But the co-op is a place I always enjoy going, and increasingly I've become conscious of my own food and didn't really think about being that active in the co-op until I heard about the new store. And I have a lot of experience in building things, not necessarily physical things, not edifices, but programs. That's the kind of work that I do actually in education. And I have a lot of experience working with groups and in planning, and I thought this would be a good use of my time and energy about something I really care a lot about, which is food. I have to admit I do like food. And I really like the spirit of the co-op. It's a place that I like to hang out at times. Sometimes when I just can't do any more work, I like to just figure out something I need to buy, so I run down to the co-op. And increasingly, mostly my wife's influence, we do 80% of our shopping at the co-op. So I thought that being on the board would be a good thing. My specific interest, however, was in the new store, because I think I had a sense of what a big project that would be and how much work would be involved. And I know that there was a big commitment to inclusiveness in how we build this store. We are a for-profit organization, as Paul said, but we're not run that way. Paul is our general manager, but he doesn't make all the decisions, as he well knows. He has a board of directors that takes his job pretty seriously. And I think that we have a general philosophy, as does our architect, that many decision makers can be better than just 1 or 2. And it's not always easy to do that. But I think that what comes out of it can be best. I really believe that there's a group awareness, and that can think of more and do more and result in something better. So I got involved on the board, and when I ran, I said I was running because I wanted to work on the new store. First few months, this is now my 2nd year on the board. The first few months before we knew we were going with the Lytton Hill project for sure, I sort of treaded water until the opportunity came to get involved with what we now call the design committee. And this was an idea that our architect, Jeff Gold, who you'll hear from, had, and others had. Other stores have done this before, other building projects, to have a group in addition to the board that would help oversee the whole construction. And when we say design, we're not sitting there with the drawings. We have an architect to do that. But there are a lot of decisions. There are literally hundreds of decisions.
So how did you prepare yourself for this, not having been familiar with markets or stores? How did you get educated yourself?
You know, I found that the work is more process work for me, and that there are experts who know the details. So that I'm not a finance expert. I can't really run the numbers necessarily, but I know enough about numbers and budgets from the other work that I've done that I can oversee the budgets that Paul works on. And then Paul brings in experts to do it. I don't know a whole lot about construction, but we have an architect. So there's lots of experts around. I think what I thought I could bring to it would be more process skills, moving things along, finding consensus, building bridges across people who might have different ideas, opening the whole process up to being as transparent as possible with our membership and with the community for that matter.
So in terms of process, Jeff, I know you've been involved in this for a long time, both as a co-op member and as an architect. So can you bring us up to date on both your design and where we are in the process of it being considered and possibly accepted?
Sure, Lou. Thanks a lot for having us too. This project has been an incredible opportunity for the community to realize a dream of creating a market that really dovetails with customer response and customer participation in both, not just the shopping, but the creation of this market and the ongoing shepherding of it. My involvement started about 3 years ago when the Lytton family started the dialogue with the BriarPatch board and with Paul in realizing the possibilities of creating a community neighborhood market on Lytton Hill that would serve both the needs of the business park as well as the adjacent community college, the high school nearby, the residences along Ridge Road, and the greater community that seeks out and shops at BriarPatch. So this was really a collaborative process of realizing that this market could be addressing a whole wide range of needs in the community. And in fact, as the business park is developed, we have right now about 500 people working within walking distance of this future market. So in our surveying and in our contacts with the neighborhood, we've come to realize that this market can really enliven the neighborhood. People can begin to think about walking and bicycling for their shopping, for the deli, takeout food, for lunchtime, and that it will have a very immediate connection to its neighborhood. The design of the store is at the corner of Sierra College Drive and Lytton Drive, and sort of faces the roundabout, and includes about 20,000 square feet, with the BriarPatch being the anchor tenant, taking about 16,000 feet. The building will be composed of materials that we find in Foothill Regional architecture and complementary to the setting, and we'll have an outdoor plaza, an outdoor eating area, and will be visually harmonious with the setting.
So as we look at the monitor now and see the drawings of it, does the circle stand for the roundabout that is at Sierra College? I'm not sure if we can go back to it or not.
The circle surrounds the site. That's right at the roundabout. And the colored area is actually the parcel itself. It's a little over 2 acres. And there will be approximately 100 parking spaces on site, an area that could be potentially developed for a weekend farmers market. And the whole site is going to be extensively landscaped. The landscaping is a primary feature of the design, with major portions of the building having trellises and lattice work, so that over time the building will actually be clothed in vegetation which will be drought tolerant. Some of it will be fragrant and native species.
So it sounds like it sounds like it has a different look to it than the kind of markets that are located generally, the bigger markets that we know from shopping. It sounds like it's a different approach to what it looks like. How would you?
Well, I think that the visual appearance of the building itself is one of low profile and one of tastefulness, in integrating the landscaping, the signage, the colors, the materials, using brick, and keeping the building in a sort of in a quiet kind of presence, and at the same time thinking about the building in its design as a hub for social interaction, that people will come here for lunch, that the act of shopping and meeting your friends and neighbors is a time where there's valuable interchange that goes on in our lives. And we're making efforts in the design of the building outside as well as how it's laid out inside to support that interaction. In the last year and a half, the building has been designed to suit, it's been designed for BriarPatch exclusively. This is not a generic building. From the very beginning, it sprung from the program and the needs of BriarPatch Co-op. In the last year, we've actually been able to fine-tune the building design because we've looked at it from the inside in terms of the tenant improvements that are going to be undertaken. One of which is, the development of an extensive deli with both hot and cold food takeout as well as eating on premise. The market has been inside conceived as a place that is joyful and pleasant to shop in, with natural light, with interesting signage and colors and textures, and to, in a sense, create a sense of desire of moving through the whole store, from the produce and the flower arrangements that will greet you as you come in, moving through the health and beauty area, the bulk foods. It will be a full-service market with all products available. So this is an opportunity for people who are looking for natural foods and organic foods particularly to do their full shopping in one place.
It sounds rather ideal in a sense. We're talking about small town community, neighborliness, sort of harken back to the times of mom and pop stores where there's congeniality and where meetings can take place. What has been some of the community concerns, some of the less positive issues that have been raised?
Well, several months ago, we had a community meeting where we invited anyone who wanted to learn about the project come, and all of the consultants were there, as well as the Litton family, and we had a presentation and an open question and give and take. And I think that there was an overwhelming response that this is a beautifully designed project. I don't think that that's really the issue. I think that people that have expressed concern and that have actually opposed the project at some of the public meetings are coming from the standpoint that this is a traffic generator and that we, as a community, are experiencing increasing traffic congestion. And I think that fundamentally is the key issue. Now, we've taken the traffic questions and issues very seriously and have done an in-depth analysis report by a traffic engineer. It's been reviewed by the city, by a peer engineer hired by the city. And the conclusion of this study is that this project is not going to generate any more traffic than if this parcel were developed for a medical office building or a professional office building, which are the kinds of projects that are happening along Sierra College Drive. And the reason that it doesn't generate any more traffic is that there is the factor of pass-by and diverted trips because of the general transportation and circulation in this area, that really new trips are not going to be significantly higher than if it were a medical office building with destination customers and clients coming to a building. So, this has been put under great scrutiny. We've complied with the city methodology for looking at traffic, and city staff has come to the conclusion that this is not going to generate a significant impact to the city.
I wonder, just because there are so many medical offices nearby, whether or not it might even cut down on some of the traffic, because these people would like to go to lunch somewhere, would like to shop somewhere, and there's just shopping and eating nearby.
Right. The peer engineer, the city staff, as well as our own engineer, all have come to that conclusion that there is likely to be actually a decrease of traffic in the congested Brunswick Basin as a result of moving this commercial activity slightly out from the major hub. And unfortunately, there isn't a way of analyzing that in an accepted method, but it's a foregone conclusion that developing this neighborhood market is going to be an attraction and is going to pull some people away from having to drive into the Brunswick area for lunch or for shopping. I'd like to just add one other comment, that part of this this effort of advocacy, planning, and design with the design committee and the BriarPatch community. We've had an extensive survey of the whole membership and had an overwhelming response both to supporting the project as well as helping direct some of the design decisions. But also, we've taken field trips to the Sacramento co-op and individually and in smaller groups gone to some of the other model co-ops that have become extremely successful as commerce and social hubs in the community, one of which is in Ashland, Oregon, another one in Davis, there's one in Ocean Beach in Southern California, and these are really extremely successful business models, not only in terms of how to have a home community-based business successful in itself, but also as a generator of classes, as an ongoing educational aspect of how food plays in our lives and culture.
The project strikes me as being visionary. That you mentioned places like Ashland and Davis, and these are communities I think that people have a very positive association with, and I think that Nevada City, Grass Valley, Nevada County has an attractiveness to it, and this would be one further aspect in the vision of carrying forth this community. But there continues to be some resistance. The idea, I know, has come up of, well, this changes zoning because the general plan doesn't specify for this kind of project.
Well, this project is coming before City Council. It went before the Planning Commission and actually was denied by Planning Commission a month ago, and we are appealing that decision. And the City Council will hear it on February 22nd in the evening in the City Hall chambers. And the Planning Commission, it was denied by Planning Commission based upon incompatibility with general plan. It is our feeling and our reading of the general plan that that was really an erroneous conclusion, and that the general plan actually speaks very much to the central themes that we are applying to this project. Specifically, the general plan talks about the importance of infill projects and the importance of mixed use.
When you say infill projects,
And
what does that mean?
Infill means that we are placing we're developing a piece of property within the city core, within a specific neighborhood where the infrastructure of utilities and roads are already in place. We're not going to the periphery. We're not going to an outer area that requires annexation and an extension of utilities. We're looking actually at the infill of an existing parcel in an existing business park with everything in place. Okay. And an existing fabric of residences, of community college, of high school, of office buildings. We have an incredible natural mix of land use right around Lytton Hill. And having a neighborhood market actually is recognized in the general plan as being a natural fit within a business park. Instead of having a business park of nothing but medical and professional offices, we are looking at providing some important commercial retail activity that those workers are going to benefit from and use on a daily basis. So the general plan definitely emphasizes the importance of infill, meaning the strengthening of the inner core and the inner neighborhoods within the city limit. Mixed use being a very important component of how we create a better weave and mix within the city so that we're not all driving to Pine Creek Shopping Center or to Brunswick to do our retail shopping. That in fact there's an importance to be able to distribute some of that retail and commercial activity, out into the neighborhoods so that we begin to, walk and bike and have shorter connections to those places. And then the general plan also, speaks to the need of knitting residences, making residences not isolated bedroom communities, but having them feel that there's a support network around them. And that goes to just the community values in this rural community, that we want to relate to our neighborhood and not to that we have to drive 10 miles to go to a shopping center.
To a superstore.
The superstores and the shopping centers are a model that really has occurred over the last 30 or 40, 50 years as part of the suburban development. We're finding that has been the cause of a lot of the congestion and the traffic problems.
You know, generally, in terms of concept, it seems like what we've seen through the last few decades is centralization, and that the kind of neighborhoods and market concepts you're coming up with are decentralized, pulling people away from essentially an urban, congested area, spreading out things so that they're more of a human scale. And so, you know, it seems like a very worthwhile project. The meeting is going to be Tuesday night, the February 22nd. Do you have any details yet as to when it might be scheduled on the agenda?
We haven't gotten the agenda, but we're hoping that it will be somewhere around 7 or 7:30 in the evening at the first part of the meeting.
Well, this has been a very informative interview. I've learned a lot. I hope the viewers have as well. As our parting comments, anything you'd like to say?
I'd like to just say, as an educator, that I'm interested in that aspect. I think it's fortuitous that this will be located, and I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful and optimistic that it will be located on Lytton Hill by the community college, very near the high school. And I think the educational side of this is very important to us, about nutrition, about the environment. So that's part of why I'm involved with this.
Well, great. I would like to thank you all, Alan, Paul, Jeff, and looking for this project coming up. And it's a democratic process, so please support the process however you choose. The council meeting is in Grass Valley City Council, February 22nd. So stay tuned. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for having us.